Welcome to episode 31 of 50 Ways to Succeed at Work, where you hear stuff about ways to succeed even the most well-intentioned colleagues, advisors, careers officers and HR departments may never get around to mentioning. This episode's called Clutter Killer, making sure your mess and disorder don't do you down. When the great scientist Einstein died in the 20th century, a photographer sneaked into the dead scientist's office at the Institute of Advanced Studies. He snapped a single picture of the residue from the world's greatest mind. His picture shows chaos. There's not an inch of Einstein's desk free of paper. Everywhere lie books, manuscripts, magazines, and envelopes. The same goes for the shelves, and elsewhere there are paper mountains. If you go to the show notes of my podcast, you'll find a link to that picture. It's a mess, and Einstein liked it that way. When someone asked about his messy desk, he remarked, "If a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, then what are we to think of an empty desk?" Another genius, Steve Jobs of Apple fame, felt the same way as Einstein, and his home office was a masterpiece of chaos. Apple headquarters keeps his office just as he left it. You'll find a link to that reference too in the show notes of this podcast. Everyone's tolerance of clutter is different. For example, unlike Einstein and Steve Jobs, those close to soccer star David Beckham know that he detests clutter. But then he almost certainly isn't a genius, apart from once being able to target footballs into the goal at unexpected angles. The one-time soccer striker colour codes his fridge's contents and vacuums the carpets in straight lines. He gets upset when anyone dares walk on it. He even has a separate bathroom from his wife, since he can't stand her clutter. Some would call Beckham obsessive, yet he's not alone in hating clutter, which can have unpleasant brain effects. Did you know that your physical environment can strongly influence your understanding, emotions, and behaviour? It can affect your decision-making and relationships with others. Scientists have used scans to show that our brains like order. Constant visual reminders of disorganization drain our mental resources and reduce our ability to focus. By clearing clutter from your work environment, you'll tend to be more able to focus and process information, and your productivity will increase. The mental bill from messy spaces keeps rising. For example, confusion may cause stress with longer-term health effects. Even more worrying, office chaos may trigger bad eating choices and harm your sleep. So how does this clutter thing happen in your life? Well, you collect items for various reasons, and when at an office there are numerous pressures to keep things close at hand, that's why the clutter builds. According to brain research, letting go of these things may hurt your brain. No wonder our clutter hangs around. Even touching material things can cause you to become more emotionally attached to them. That may explain why you insist on that special cup at work, or have a thing about always using the same chair each day. The psychological connection with the clutter at work keeps people holding on to everything. Getting rid of it may not seem comfortable. Yet clutter competes for our attention, and like multitasking, overloads our senses, making us feel stressed and reduces our ability to be creative or to be open to new ideas. So what does a decluttered workspace say about you? Einstein would claim that a tidy space is perhaps worse. Yet perception is everything, and tidiness suggests that you are well organized at work. For example, it may send others the message that you can't find things when you need them. Visitors gain a good impression by seeing the sense of order, especially customers. The opposite is also true. The negative impact of clutter influences colleagues' perception of your professionalism. It's often personal. They may conclude you're a bit of a slob in your real life. Staying mess-free at work will do more for your image than the reverse. So what can be done about this mess? That stack of stuff that can't wait, but yet does? What to do about endless computer files never thinned down to the essentials? It comes down to the equivalent of cutting excess branches in a garden, or regular housekeeping like washing up. and not keeping things when you don't need them. It's best to avoid allowing the debris of working life to get so bad that you start cleaning just to avoid more meaningful actions. If you work from home, try to keep the boundary between the workspace and the domestic space separate. As a team member, suggest to colleagues that you set aside regular spring cleaning days. Tempt them by offering to make it into a social event. That way you can help turn it into a shared burden that most people don't enjoy. If you have access to IT support, discover what tools exist to manage your online documents. Also, seek clarity on what should be kept and what can be discarded, and stop those notifications from various accounts and anything that goes ping unexpectedly. They're all targets to be killed. As Einstein showed, clutter isn't always bad. Messy desks can make us more creative. Neat, ordered environments can cause us to conform to expectations and play it safe. Sometimes it's true, chaotic environments, at least temporary ones, can move us in new directions and make us look at things differently. So, what action am I suggesting? First of all, by decluttering your work life, you will suffer less stress and come across as organized. Secondly, unless you are a creative genius, reducing the mess around you will help your brain make immediate sense of information. Thirdly, avoid the risk of colleagues seeing your clutter and concluding that you're only trying to look busy. So, what should we take away from this? Well, be a clutter killer. And unless you're super creative, aim for tidiness. You've been listening to an episode of Andrew's 50 Ways to Succeed at Work. For more episodes, subscribe free to my regular weekly podcasts. You can catch up on past ones at the 50ways.site, where you can also become a foundation member with access to e-learning units, transcripts, further reading links, and the forum, where you can ask questions, share problems, and join a growing community of people who seriously want to succeed at work. Thanks for listening, and bye for now until next week.